Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County branch of the League of Women Voters of New York State, one of the civic partners for this show. This is the next in our series we're calling Conversations from the CoronaVerse. My guest today is Laurell Brault, coordinator of the Potsdam Snack Pack program. Welcome back to North Country Matters, Laurell. We're glad you could return to us via Zoom to talk about the important work your organization is doing during the pandemic.
Hi, Donna, and thank you so much for having me back.
Well, it's our pleasure. This is about the fourth time I think you've been on the show, and you always bring so much energy and enthusiasm for the work you're doing to it. Last fall, you were given the Pride in Potsdam Award by the Potsdam Chamber of Commerce for the work you'd been doing to address child hunger in the community. None of us could have envisioned then what we are experiencing now and how the needs in the community would have grown so dramatically. By the middle of March, Potsdam Central was organizing Meals on Wheels in school buses for the children who would have been getting fed during the school day. These included breakfast and lunch in some cases. As part of that outreach, the Potsdam Snack Pack program continued covering the weekend meals, just as you were doing during the school year. Tell us how the Snack Pack program part of the food distribution works, please.
Well, Donna, the way the program has been working the last few weeks is that our volunteers, we still prepare the snack packs the way we always did, but now we actually accompany the school buses and go to the 8 different locations in and around Potsdam. So as they're handing out the lunch meals and the breakfast items, we're also distributing the snack packs. And that's really been working well for us. We actually have seen an increase in the number of people who are requesting snack packs. So our program has definitely taken on more in terms of being able to provide resources to the families in need.
Well, that's very true, and it also tells us that there are just plain more families in need than there were before the New York pause started and businesses began to shut down and the economy began to really constrict in a very significant way for an awful lot of folks in our area. You couldn't,
Yes.
you couldn't do this work without the help and support, not only of your dedicated cadre of volunteers, but also with the donations the community is providing. Tell us about who is helping to provide the food you distribute, please.
Wow, it's been incredible to see the outpouring of support from the community. We have had people who have contacted us to say, I'd like to donate food, what do you need? And then they go to the store and they purchase the items. I had one family purchase almost $600 worth of food and deliver it to us. And I've also had companies that have reached out. For example, we just had Dollar General. They did a food collection at the store. I didn't even know they were doing it, but they saw a post on Facebook indicating the types of items that we were looking for the snack packs. So the manager at the store just started collecting food, and they filled up 4 huge boxes that I picked up earlier this week. But we've also had the Clarkson University, the athletic department. They also had a huge collection of food items that they delivered to us just last week. And people have been purchasing items off of Amazon. One of the things that the school did at the very beginning was they created the Amazon wish list so that people who wanted to support the snack pack program could just go on there, see the items that we needed, and they could purchase them. So at one point we had probably 36 boxes from Amazon just lined up, waiting to be opened and inventoried. It's just been amazing to see how the community has responded. And then of course we've also received a couple of grants as well. So all in all, I mean, the support from the community, whether it's financial, whether it's volunteers, or whether it's people donating food, it's just been fantastic.
Well, that is a wonderful thing to hear that the community has really responded in that way. And this, as Governor Cuomo likes to talk about this is a marathon, not a sprint. So we'll have to
Yes.
hope that people continue to be generous and they continue to be thinking about their less fortunate neighbors, because we know that this is not going to be over in a hurry, and the need is probably only going to grow as people really begin to feel the economic effects of this once their emergency money begins to run out and things like that. Things are going to get very, very tight, even tighter than they are now, aren't they?
Yes. Yes.
So one of the things that you've always relied on with your volunteers is folks to help at the site packing the snack packs. But that's changed, hasn't it, during this time of social distancing?
Yes, most of our regular volunteers have decided to take a step back. The majority of them were over the age of 60, and we felt it was probably in their best interest to do so. But what we have now are two families primarily who have been coming. And along with the two families, we also have two of our long-term volunteers who elected to continue coming out each week. So we have a group of about 8 or 9 most weeks who are there to prepare the snack packs, and that's worked out well.
Tell us how you keep the volunteers safe, because when they're working in a space like that, you want to keep them as far apart as you can, but when you're assembling snack packs, you kind of have to get a little bit closer, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we always had a policy because we were part of the food bank of Central New York, so we do follow their guidance, and I mean, it's mandatory in terms of the way we do things. So we were always washing down the tables and the bins and making sure that the volunteers washed their hands before they started packing. But now, as soon as they enter the building, there's a place for them to use a hand sanitizer, and then they go into the room where we actually do the packing. There are hand wipes, sanitizers, gloves. They could also use the restrooms to wash their hands if they prefer to go there and do that. But we've always had something in place where we made sure that people were clean before they started packing. And now we're just making sure that there's an extra attention that's placed on, if you're doing something and you move away from packing the food, you have to change your gloves. You can't just like do something with the recycle and then come back and try to pack. No, you have to change your gloves or just opt to not pack anymore. So it's very controlled in terms of what the volunteers are able to do. They all have their face mask on, so we're following all of the protocols.
Well, that's important because folks who then receive the snack packs from the buses, when they take them home, they know that they've been packed under very strict conditions and they don't have to worry about what they're receiving into their home from an outside location. Um,
Yes.
Laurell, talk to us a little bit. You mentioned about face masks. That the face masks that your volunteers are using are actually part of a church community effort, weren't they, to make face masks, which of course now we're all supposed to be wearing whenever we're out in
Yeah.
public. So tell us a little bit about what those folks did.
So we had a couple of ladies from New Hope Community Church that they received the instructions that were distributed several weeks. I mean, it's been a while now. But what they did was they took that and they had a lot of excess material. So they brought the sewing machine and all the materials to the church, and they actually set up a space and they just sewed face masks. They made over 100, and it's probably more than that by now. But at the time that they were distributing them to us, they had prepared over 100 face masks. So some of the volunteers already had their own, and some elected to use the ones that had been made by the folks at New Hope.
Oh, that's great. That's just wonderful to see that kind of a community response, because one of the things we know during the pandemic is things like face masks and other protective equipment have been in short supply, and they've really been trying to make sure that healthcare workers who are the most likely to be exposed to uh, sick people have the best equipment. But these homemade
Yes.
face masks are great for the kinds of things that your folks are doing, because it does help to prevent any spread of disease.
Yes.
So what we have seen around the country as the coronavirus has shut down America's education system is that a lot of districts are fortifying their school meal programs to ensure that their most needy students stay fed. And that's certainly true of North Country schools. And many of those districts have also turned their cafeterias into food banks and community kitchens. Some districts are now feeding adults and sending home days worth of food for entire families because the need in the community is that great. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, they're doing so at a cost, because they can't actually recoup those expenses under the current federal guidelines for the lunch program. But the need is real. So because of that expanded need, how have the criteria that you've used to identify need in Potsdam students changed as a result of the economic impacts of the pandemic?
So Donna, that's a good question. As you know, prior to the school shutdown, if someone wanted to be a part of the snack pack program, there was a letter that was sent home, and the parents or the guardian would be responsible for signing it and stating whether or not the child had any food allergies or food intolerances, and that would be returned to the school, and then that child would be enrolled in the program. So for privacy reasons, obviously we didn't know the names of the students, but we did know the numbers. So for example, let's say the elementary school, we knew that there were 150 students who were receiving snack packs. Well, now with the way the food is being distributed by the schools, there are no questions asked. So we don't have a form that people need to fill out in advance. When we accompany the school buses, just as they're distributing the lunches and the breakfast items to the people, to the families who show up, we're doing the same thing with the snack packs. So they're there, they know that the snack packs are available. If someone says, no, I don't want one or I don't need one, they don't get one. But what we're finding is that more people are asking for the snack packs, and most sites are running out of the snack packs before the 1 hour time that they're supposed to be on site is up. So one of the things we are looking at is increasing the number of snack packs that we send out, as it appears as though there's great interest now in getting snack packs.
Well, I'm sure that's going to increase over time simply because of the economic situation that families find themselves in. Laurell, tell us, when you started, or rather, I should say, when the distribution stopped at the end of school and then started going out on the school buses, have you seen an increase in the numbers that you actually are preparing? I know how many did you used to prepare versus how many are you actually able to distribute now?
Right, so we were distributing just over 300, but that also included the Head Start students. We no longer prepare snack packs for the Head Start students. We did that for the first 2 weeks after the shutdown, and then once they closed their doors, we just decided to increase the numbers that we were sending out to the different sites. So right now, we've increased by 50 the number of snack packs that we send out each week. And then that number is actually going to go up again this week because, as I said, there's a shortage. Most of the sites, the volunteers have requested that I increase the number that they take with them to those specific sites. So we'll be doing that this week as well.
So give our viewers a sense of where those sites are that the bus is actually visiting, if you can, please.
Yeah, so I have the sheet in front of me so I don't forget a site, but West Stockholm, West Potsdam Bingo Hall, Pine Street Arena, the middle school out in the parking lot, Tractor Supply Company, Hanover Fire Station, and Seacom Plaza. And actually the Seacom Plaza and the West Stockholm Fire Station are our two busiest sites.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So do snack pack volunteers actually ride the buses and hand out the snack packs, or is that just available for the person who's actually distributing the food on the bus? How does that work?
So a couple of the volunteers do ride with the school bus, and the majority of them, though, are just driving their own vehicles and meeting the bus on site. Because
Okay.
again, they usually run out of the snack packs before the hour is up, so that way they can leave on their own once they're finished.
Well, that makes sense and is a good use of resources. Um, it certainly looks doubtful at this point that school is going to resume normally for the rest of this year because the New York pause goes until the middle of June, and it's only about a month until school would be out anyway, until the middle of May, and it would only be about a month until school was out in the middle of June. And yet we know this crisis is going to probably still continue well into the summer months. And the need for food for kids never goes away, even when the school year is over. So with the long-term thinking, it's going to be a long time before everybody gets back to work. Have you been thinking about summer feeding needs, and have there been any plans about extending the snack pack program and the school bus feeding beyond the normal end of the school year that you know of?
So the only conversations that I've had so far, well, I've been working with the St. Lawrence County People Project organization, and one of the things that we had looked at for a project for the People Project was the summer food feeding program, because we know that when the children are out of school, a lot of them aren't involved with activities at the rec center. So we're missing out on a whole lot of students who were used to getting free or reduced lunch, and now all of a sudden there's nothing during the summer months. So the feeding program is something that we would like to pursue. And we're also talking with the folks at Garden Share, because they did a study to see what types of food programs were available for the summer months. So hopefully we'll have something firm going forward. But as you mentioned, this situation is so fluid, and we don't know what's going to be happening during the summer months. So we are talking about it, but I don't know what that's going to look like. The schools obviously are going to be tight when it comes to funding, and that's another thing that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yes, unfortunately, the need is always dependent on the funding, isn't it? So,
Yes.
as you look towards feeding hungry kids on the weekends for the next couple of months anyway, tell our viewers how they can best help the Snack Pack program stay in business and grow to meet these future needs. What is it that you need that folks can help with?
Well, it's great when people donate food. However, it's actually better for us to receive cash donations, because then that allows us to purchase bulk items and we can get them at a reduced price. So first and foremost, if they can make a cash donation, they can go to our website and make an online donation. That's potsdamsnackpack.org. And you can go there. You don't need to have a PayPal account or anything, but you can donate via the PayPal button that's on the site. The other way is we have people who sponsor, and I put that in air quotes, sponsor a student uh, for a month, and that's $10. So we have several people who have opted to do that. So every month they just send in a check for $10, and that's really great because we know that money is coming in. Of course, we never turn away food donations. We do try, though, to stick to the items that we would normally carry in our inventory, and also we want to remain in compliance with the food nutrition policy from the food bank, because we're still a member of the food bank and we're expected to comply with their food policy. So we do provide a list on our website. I also periodically provide that information on our Facebook page, and people also have reached out to say specifically, like, just this month, what are you short of? And so they can then go out and purchase that specific item.
That's great. And one of the things that I think, because you do have such an active social media program with the Snack Pack program, that people who are at home now are paying more attention to things like that, and
Yeah.
so they're picking up on the need. And the fact that the Snack Pack and the school meals are being delivered around the district makes it a more visible program than it was before, doesn't it?
That's true. That's true. And I think that's part of the reason why we've been getting a lot of inquiries on Facebook, people asking about the program. Some people have mentioned that they didn't even know the program existed. And then these are people who are turning around and donating. So it's just wonderful to see that our increased presence in the community has generated more awareness. And now people are donating who have never donated before.
Well, hopefully that will continue because we know the need is going to continue. Laurell, a year ago, or not quite, I had you on the program to talk about the back to school fair that you and Potsdam Central were organizing. And the year before, I think there had been one back to school fair, and last year there were about 8 in different districts. So one of the things that we know is that these things don't happen overnight. It takes a lot of planning. Had you begun the planning work for the back to school fair, even though right now we don't know what back to school is going to look like?
Right. Yes, Joanne Chambers and I, Joanne is the superintendent for the Potsdam School District. We actually met at the beginning of the year to talk about the back to school fair, to go over the lessons learned. So we did have initial discussions, and I also had been working with our fundraising team to see if there were organizations that we could partner with, and we had already sent out the initial letters. So yes, planning was underway, and we had some ideas in terms of what things we wanted to change and how else we could, really target specific families. So yes, that took place, but now everything is on hold. And especially now with companies having had to either close their doors or lay off employees, we're not even sure what level of support we will be able to get from the community, in terms of holding school drives, school supply drives, and things like that, because that was also a big help last summer. We had a lot of companies, because we were also partnering with the Chamber of Commerce. So we had a lot of companies that stepped up and they were hosting school supply drives at their sites.
Well, it was true. It was a really it was a community-wide effort, and the community is hurting right now. So it's understandable that, as you mentioned, this is such a fluid situation. It's going to take us a while for things to sort out. And I am 100% sure, being a native of Potsdam, that when things get back and running up in a more or less normal fashion, that same spirit of generosity is not going to disappear. Folks are going to step up. Uh,
Yeah.
any final thoughts, Laurell, for the Snack Pack program and what people can do?
Well, I just want to say, Donna, it's been humbling. It's been inspiring to see the way people have responded. And I was talking with a lady earlier today. She's going to be taking the snack lunches from the school to a family. It's a single mother with 5 children, and she's going to drive over to that person's house and deliver the items. And I said, there's no act that's too small. We can all do something. And sometimes I think we look at the big problem, we think, well, it's so huge, I don't even know where to begin. But just finding one thing to do, it will make a huge difference, and it is making a difference. So I just want to thank all the people who have stepped up and who've been supporting the Snack Pack program, but just people who have stepped up in general. Just to help out their neighbor. It's wonderful to see that we can all come together, and we truly are one community.
We are, and I hope this is a great lesson, not just for one community, but for the whole state and the whole country. It's been something that has needed to happen to sort of bring us together. There's been so much division in so many ways in America, and I agree with you. I've seen stories from all over the country about people just plain stepping up and saying, I can't solve the problem of the country, but I can make a difference right here,
Yeah,
right now for somebody. And that's been something that's been very beautiful to watch, because
yeah,
sometimes we tend to forget that we have more power than we really do.
right. Yes,
Well,
yes,
thank you very much for coming in, Laurell. Thank you for continuing your work under not exactly ideal conditions, but, fortunately, the Snack Pack is a program that has really caught the imagination of the community, and you have that dedicated core of folks, which appears to be growing, and that's a good thing. And,
yes.
you're doing great work, and we all appreciate it. And it's making the lives of those children and their families a little easier during these difficult days. So thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. And again, thank you for covering this topic. And it's really great seeing you again, even if it's via Zoom.
That's exactly right. One of these days we'll be back together again in person. So thank you, Laurell, for coming in.
Mhm.
These conversations are a production of North Country Matters. This show is a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters and the Potsdam Public Library. Please still stay safe by following all of the public health recommendations. And until next time, please remember, our North Country matters.